Today's lesson is going to be on how to set up a still life at home. Um, I use a bunch of different things, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to replicate this little picture that I painted a while ago. I really like it, but I wanted to do a larger version of it. So I have some of the same objects that I use in this painting, and I plan on painting some pansies from my yard. So I really like that color combination, so I'm trying to replicate that. So the first thing I want to think about is what container I want to use, and this is the one in the original piece which I really like, and I'll tell you why I like it. I like it because it's small. I know the pansies, I'm going to have to really pack them in there, and I want to keep the forms really simple. So I don't want a big vase that lets them all splay out. To me, that's annoying, so I'm not going to do that. I also have another lots of little containers that I like to use for plants or for small arrangements, and I'm not going to use these, and I'll tell you why. Number one, the green on green with purple. I like the contrast that the yellow has with the purple pansies that I'm going to be using, so that's one reason I'm keeping that. Number two is there's a lot of texture on here that I find hard to replicate, so I want the detail to be in the pansies and not on the vessel so much, so I'm going to put that one aside. I also have this cute little flower pot that's kind of chipped and old that I can't seem to let go of, and I like this, but it has a pattern on it, and I'm really not interested in adding pattern to this image. I find it's going to probably be something I'm going to have to wrestle with, so I'm just going to keep things really simple. So I'm going to put this one aside too. So yes to the yellow handled little cup here. I also happen to really like the profile of it. I think it's really interesting, and I didn't really do it justice here, but I'd like to try to really use that as part of the design element. The second thing you're going to need is about a yard of fabric. Again, I've chosen something that is plain and is not patterned or striped or has a texture that I'm going to have to worry about. Keeps things visually simple. And it's also a nice complementary color to the yellow, and it looks really nice with the green. So that's nice. And yeah, like about a yard. You could use a tablecloth. You could use a scarf that you really like, as long as it covers the area that you are focusing on in the painting. That's all that really matters. So, and I have a bunch of fabrics that I keep around for that purpose. So that's number two. The second thing, or the third thing, excuse me, is going to be your background. I want to be able to not have to look at what's behind this little vase and flowers while I'm painting, and I need to create a kind of a fake wall to do that. So what I like to use is are these canvases. They're not too expensive. You can get them at any craft store. You can order them online, and if you live in Rhode Island, they sell them at Job Lot, and they're not terribly expensive. You can see here that I've painted a few different colors, and if you follow me on Instagram, or if you look at my Facebook page or my web shop, usually these things will show up as backgrounds or to create some color interest. So I like using them a lot, but we're not going to use the colored ones today. And another thing to think of is I cover them also in fabric, so that's another thing that you can do and keep these things around as backgrounds or as a base for setting up a still life at home. So the fourth thing is you're going to need a platform. I have this little box that I painted. It's part of my booth display, and it's made out of wood. You could probably find something like that at a craft store and paint it or leave it plain. You could also use a book of an interesting color, or you could put a book down with something like this on top, which again makes a very perfectly fine platform for your vase of flowers or whatever you plan on putting in your still life. you need, you're going to need tape, and also you're going to need some decent lighting. In my studio, I have bulbs that are on the warm side, so I am supplementing that light with these big fancy umbrellas that I use for photographing, mostly to take this video so the colors are good. You don't have to get that fancy. You can just take a pedestal lamp and put a daylight bulb in next to the work that you're doing, or you can paint at the same time of day. If you're painting in the morning and you have morning light and that morning light's consistent, that's great. You can use that. So this is 45 watts and it's a cool light. So I'm not really up on all the temperatures and wattages. So you can play around, use what you have, or if you really are desperate, you can, you know, buy one online, I guess, at this point, or if you're going to the grocery store, I think they have things like that there. So, okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to use these plain white ones because I'm going to drape fabric over the back. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay them flat like this. I'm leaving the plastic on. There's no need for me to really take it off. It keeps them clean until I really want to paint it. And I'm just taking some packing tape and laying it down like this. Just press it on. And then I can stand it up and there's the background, right? If you don't want to go to the store and you have a cardboard box, you can cut two sides out of a box and use that as your background as well.